Still Poddable, still Poddable. The boss is just still Poddable, still Poddable. Oh yeah. Still Poddable, still Poddable. The boss is just still Poddable, still Poddable. Banner 18.
J King, Jam Packard in the B-Roll.
Still Poddable, still Poddable.
The Jay-Z White in the catalog.
Still Poddable, still Poddable.
The kids are legends to go.
Still Poddable, still Poddable, still Poddable. The boss is just still Poddable, still Poddable. Oh yeah.
I just had to go to a bathroom.
Welcome back to Still Poddable, the best Celtics podcast here on Al Gore's Internet. We are a Monday through Friday Celtics podcast giving you fantastic content every single day of the week, game recaps, and we've got coverage from two of the best reporters on the beat, Brian Robb from MassLive.com and Jay King from The Athletic. I am Sam Jam Packard. Today is the free episode. That means we are coming to you on the CLNS YouTube page. That also means we are brought to you by the Game Time app and the Prize Picks app. If you want to save money on either of those two fine products, use the promo code CLNS today. And if you want more Still Poddable, go to patreon.com/stillpoddable. It's the best daily Celtics podcast out there. They're not going to find any advertisements on that. You're not going to find, someone shelling for a bunch of products that they don't actually use. It's just going to be pure Celtics content every day, Monday through Friday. That's what we do on Still Poddable, patreon.com/Still Poddable. Boys, the Celtics are back. They're back and actually playing basketball in Boston with two games over the weekend. The always exciting preseason back-to-back. It gave us an opportunity to see every single player on the roster. I say that now, but I don't know if the 21st. I don't know if Jay Scrubb got into the game.
Yeah, I don't know if he's been cleared yet, Jay Scrubb. But yeah, that was everyone else though.
So unfortunately, no Jay Scrubb. But you guys are in the building. Actually, got to see the championship title defense attack start. Jay, start with you. What was your impression or wild overreaction to kind of seeing the Celtics in person over the weekend?
They are playing already at a very high level. And it hasn't been dictated by, obviously, like the external motivation of winning a big game or competing against great players. The Sixers sat everybody, and the Celtics played everybody, and basically everybody, and they still decided, you know what, let's just play as well as we can and destroy them and go on with the night. That I thought that was the most impressive part was you hear that Joel Embiid is going to be out, Paul George is going to be out, everybody, Tyrese Maxey, and you think maybe the Celtics will let down. It's preseason. Who cares? It's a meaningless game. Oh, no. They were flying around playing defense. They were bullying their way to the rim. They were getting Luke Kornet layups. The offense looked beautiful. It was just a dynamite performance. And if they're going to bring that edge to a preseason game against a Philadelphia team missing everybody, then the motivation piece might be, they might not have a championship hangover.
Yeah, the lack of a letdown in any. I mean, I guess part of it too is they had a week off before more games, so they're ready to go for that Philly game on Saturday night or anything else. But then you throw a Raptors team on Sunday that was close to whole. Like they were missing a few starters.
If that's close to whole for the Raptors team,
You weren't that close to whole.
I mean, like quickly, RJ Barrett, like
Kelly Olynyk, give Kelly Olynyk.
I don't know. They had their best player, Scotty Barnes. They played Jakob Poeltl. Like they were a competent NBA team. Was on the floor last night.
I wouldn't go as far as calling them competent. That's generous.
They had some of their NBA players on the floor.
They had some NBA players on the floor, and the Celtics had their guys 6 through 15, depending on where you put Luke Kornet in that. And still,
I'd say 7 through 15.
Yeah, 7 through 15. Luke Kornet's moving up that list, but no, it's is a situation now. I mean, beyond the fact that the Celtics are a really, really good team and are going to, for as much as we talked about last year, like, can it be this easy again with this group? And the answer is, you look at what they've done through the 4 preseason games, you're like, you know what? It might be that easy most nights, certainly when you're playing the Raptors of the world. But the cohesion, the chemistry within the starters, within the bench unit, and I think the fact that a lot of these guys are just on the ascent in their careers right now, like not beyond just Jason and Jalen. And you see that in these preseason games when Pritchard and Hauser of the world get, closer to 30 minutes and closer to 20 shots. And those guys are just damn good. And they're able to beat up against other team starters, other team second units. And so the fact that they are going to be ahead of the curve on that front compared to a lot of other contenders in the Eastern Conference that have a lot of new parts they're trying to integrate, I think bodes quite well for this group out of the gate.
I think, like, as me just watching it as a Celtics fan, you take for granted how good at least the top 4 guys are going to be. And it's just like, oh, it's just another kind of dominant performance from the Jays and the best defensive backcourt in basketball. Even at this point, I'm not surprised when Peyton Pritchard comes in and he's starting and he shoots the lights out. We had Sam Hauser, another very impressive performance. It's just, if this is like, what are we just due for another like boring season from the Celtics where it's just like, ho hum, Celtics are up by 30 again? Because it just feels like everything is clicking and there's nothing new from this team, at least in terms of the top end. It's just like,
this is the classic Packard reaction where the Celtics play really well a couple of times, and then he's like, there's nothing anyone else could do. Nobody will ever compete against them. Nobody will ever come close to them.
I have yet to see it this season. Just saying.
That is fair.
Am I wrong?
However, like, it's a long season. It's one thing to have that edge, that attitude right away. Think back to even Joe's first year when they went 21-5 and looked amazing for the first 26 games of the season, and then just kind of played blah basketball the rest of the way, including the playoffs when they lost to Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals. So I think it's just, you have to continue this. It's not enough to do it a couple of times against terrible teams in the preseason, against guys who won't be playing in the NBA this year. Like, you have to do it again and again, and that's going to be the boring part, and that's going to be the challenging part. Just when you're 25-3 or whatever it is after 28 games, can you then play the 29th the same way? And then so on and so on and so forth. Because the Celtics last year allowed themselves no slippage, and they just kept building and building and building until dominating throughout the playoffs. They've got off to a great start. You can tell, like, their heads are in the perfect place right now, but you got to stay like that to have a chance to repeat, because repeating is really hard.
Was it the 09 Celtics? Did they go 27-2 out of the gate? Was that the?
Yeah, they were incredible.
Right.
And
so that's the goal right now for Joe Mazzulla. That's you start opening night. That's on the board. 27-2.
Those Celtics.
Why 27-2? Why would you have a goal of 2 losses? Why not go 29-0?
Yeah, have a growth mindset.
I mean, because Porzingis is out, so that's 2 losses. That's the handicap.
Well, we also have not seen Al Horford yet. He will play. He's just a real slow ramp up, a good 4-month ramp up for Al Horford. He is actually good. He will play on Tuesday against the Raptors in Toronto. And so I guess the new wrinkle that we have seen and that we saw a little bit on Saturday night against the 76ers is who's going to fill into that center role. We got to see Luke Kornet with the starters. Absolute domination of that first quarter against the Dancing Bear, Gershon Yabusele. Yaba didn't know what to do with him. And then we also saw a bit of Tillman with the starters, and Tillman saw, what was 3 of 3 for deep?
Tillman's flashing those things.
Maybe the finals 3 in game 3 wasn't a fluke. B-Rob, like, what do you think is more of a sustainable thing? Is it Luke Kornet, being an offensive powerhouse, or is it Javier Tillman knocking down threes? Above the break three and above the break three from Xavier Tillman.
For as good as Kornet has looked this preseason, like that might be the Tillman situation could potentially be a bigger story here for this team because Luka's not letting it fly yet from three. We'll see if those days ever do come back for him. But Tillman, beyond just hitting the threes, he's moving a lot better overall after this surgery. And if that sustains from the pick and pop situation for him, like that's a huge thing for the second unit to have and a huge thing for just the Celtics to be able to go to in lineups where they want that versatility at the center spot. So Kornet can get all the offensive rebounds he wants over Yabu and stuff like that. But when push comes to shove, there's going to be a lot of really tough center matchups in the starting lineups in the Eastern Conference that Kornet's not going to be able to feast against. But he played damn well last year, Jay. Like I think just picking up where he left off, like Joe is complimenting in terms of what he's done this offseason, coming back. And so I don't know, both those guys, they're only in their like mid to late 20s, but that's like, as you know, seem to be as reliable as you can hope for guys on a minimum deal.
Yeah, and especially considering you have Porzingis out and Al Horford taking a long time to ramp up. Like it's really nice to have Kornet and Tillman, two guys who are super dependable, especially defensively, for both of them. Like Tillman, his offense will come and go, but they're just, they're going to be reliable. They're going to do the right thing. They're going to be where they're supposed to be. They're going to run the right play and screen the right way. And like, that's just nice to have. And they both play really well with the Celtics' best players. They're both really smart guys. And like Kornet, to me, his emergence last year was a big deal. Like his season probably didn't get talked about enough because he didn't play a lot of minutes and because he was behind Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford. But like, if you look at the advanced stats, the block rate, the offensive rebound rate, he was really, really productive. And it's funny at the end of the preseason game last night, after the Raptors made like a crazy run to cut it to 4, I checked the spread just to see if anyone got like just hosed by the run, and the Raptors were 1.5 point favorites. I was like, why?
It's because Luke Kornet wasn't playing.
And I get like Scotty Barnes was out there and Jakob Poeltl, but it's like Peyton Pritchard was clearly going to dominate the game. If you've watched Peyton Pritchard in the preseason, if you watch Peyton Pritchard when the Celtics are down a lot of bodies, like Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser were going to toast them. And early on, it was just Pritchard and Hauser and Lonnie Walker and Court. Like those guys just, Pritchard and Hauser are really good. And even against starters, like they can hold their own, they can control the game. They're tough to deal with because they're constantly moving, they're constantly putting pressure on the defense, and then they're able to just spot up and let it fly from anywhere. So I was surprised when I saw that the Raptors were favored. Like it was just maybe Vegas was pulling one over on the degenerates betting Celtics Raptors preseason.
Scal was talking during the game that the two guys next to him sitting courtside definitely had action on the game because they were flipping out about the Raptors' late comeback in the fourth quarter, and not something you normally do.
Must have been a live line.
Yeah.
Maybe they went under.
Maybe, yeah. Ben unders on preseason basketball games.
Some real sicko behavior right
real
there.
Real sicko stuff. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Folks, with the NBA season just around the corner, it's your chance to get in on the fun with Prize Picks. I know we're going to be picking Jason Tatum overs, Peyton Pritchard overs in the preseason. And so that's why you should go to Prize Picks today. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is promo code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Before we get to Pritchard and Hauser, I do want to get back to Kornet because we got this little narrative that emerged, and I feel like it was all Corrales' fault because I didn't see it until someone brought it up on their podcast. Should Al Horford start or come off the bench, as Luke Kornet played so well that he's earned himself a starter role? I believe Joe was asked about this, but to me, this falls under the folder of preseason poppycock. B-Rob, what do you think about this question?
Yeah, Joe hedged it by being like, well, we could do it. We'll see, because he plays everything like that. Every door is open. He's not going to give you any kind of tell on that front. The one thing that you could make a case for bringing Al off the bench is just to keep his minutes down, from a standpoint of like, if they want him for whatever this year, if they want him below like 25, if they want him closer to 20 than 25 minutes this year, then that's tough to do in the starting five. For Al
you
Horford.
can sub him out at
you could,
3 minutes.
Yeah, you could sub him out at 5 minutes. It's trickier, but I agree. Like, with that said, there's not a lot of back-to-backs to begin the year. And so you're like, oh yeah, you could have the continuity. No, like there's 3 or 4 back-to-backs, or like opening night against Karl Anthony Towns. Who do you want out there? Al Horford or Luke Kornet to start the game? Like, and you can go on and on there. I think, and then on top of that, Jay, I think Al Horford's a prideful guy, and Al Horford was happy to sacrifice for this team last year when there was 5 all-star caliber players there. I don't think, unless he will do it, but I don't think he'd be happily saying, yeah, come off the bench for Luke Kornet, when he obviously is very much a starting caliber player in this league at this point still.
Unless it's part of his even slower ramp up. Like he needs to really
right. I mean, that could be
right.
If it's and that is the thing. If it's physically, like, if that's where he's at, where he's gonna be at a minutes limit, then maybe they will do that. I don't know.
When Joe said that, it was hard to tell whether he was letting you in on a secret and they are actually considering bringing Al off the bench, or he was just answering a question and like, yeah, Al's open to whatever. Right. Like, we're just going to me, I agree. I don't want to put like not selfish, but I don't want to put self-centered thoughts onto Al Horford. But I remember when he first got back to the Celtics after leaving, and at that time there was question about whether he would start, and he was just kind of like, I want to start. Like, it means a lot to me to start. And at that time it was a different situation. But it makes me wonder, would he be okay, like B-Rob said, with playing behind Luke Kornet after everything he's done for the franchise? After the way he played throughout the playoffs last year, to then come back and be like, yeah, you're going to be off the bench. I don't know. The other thing, if they do that, to me, it would be more about how Horford plays with Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard. That, like, you're not worried about Luke Kornet in the starting lineup because you know that he complements those guys. You know that he can hold his own against starting centers. Like, yeah, there would be some matchups that would be tough for him, whatever. But for the most part, you can play Luke Kornet with the starters and it'd be okay. To me, that decision could come down to how do you maximize that second unit, which was really a huge, huge piece for the Celtics last year. And like, bench come in and be plus 15 points per 100 possessions is just insane. And that's what they were when Pritchard.
I lost Jay for a second.
To me, like, that's what the decision would come down to, as long as he's willing to do whatever it takes.
Can
you hear me now?
I gotcha. Like, I got it all quick and fast forwarded at the end. So hopefully that picked up the recording. I do think that's interesting from a rotational perspective of just like, if the second unit is Al Horford with Pritchard and Hauser and 2 of the starters, and you have that 5-out spacing, like the Celtics did such a good job of just beating every other team's bench. And to channel my inner Brad Stevens, if Brad Stevens got asked this question, it's not about who starts the game. It's about who finishes the game. And I feel like no matter what, Al Horford's going to be in the closing five. And so it's probably a moot point. I don't know how important that is, but maybe we'll do it to limit his minutes. Jay, you brought up earlier Pritchard and Hauser. Is there a chance like they have this potential to take the leap, or am I just wildly overreacting to 4 preseason games at this point, B-Rob? Because it feels like they I guess less so from Pritchard. It's less notable, but it feels like Hauser has done a little bit to add to his game, and he's not just a 3-point shooter anymore. I think he's going to get some more 2-point shots and doing a little bit more off the dribble. I think Tom Westerholm made a good point. It's like, I think practicing against Drew Holiday and Derek White every day will probably make these guys a lot better on offense. But I feel like if there's anyone a chance to make like a noticeable leap in their games, it's those 2 guys coming off the bench.
Yeah, it's certainly, I think the confidence boost those guys got from their run last year, it can't be underrated here either. Pritchard, this is coming up on his 5th year in the league now, but he's been playing like since his rookie year now. So he's seasoned. He's someone who's been there. And like you said, when you're going up against, when you're just modeling your games and you're watching Derek White and Drew Holiday day after day after day, you can find your spots. You can pick up things from them defensively. And those guys, I don't know, like you put those guys on the Raptors, Hauser and Pritchard, Packard, like those guys probably can put up between 15 to 20 points a game potentially in terms of like if they got the opportunities. And so we see nights like the Celtics aren't going to need them to do that many nights, I think, this year. But with Porzingis out, with Al out, if depending on how careful they are through this year, maybe there is going to be games where those guys are going to get a lot more rope. And I do think the upside is there based on what we've seen in these first couple weeks of the preseason.
Jay, where do you think Hauser is in his Duncan Robinson evolution of taking guys off the dribble? You were a naysayer to begin the season, but he's shown some things early in the preseason. He might be making some 2-point shots for you.
He really hasn't done a whole lot of that. If you watched Duncan Robinson last year, he was like running pick and roll. I
asked you where he was. I'm not saying he's full Duncan Robinson yet. I'm asking you where he is in the evolution to become full Duncan Robinson.
He's not probably going to have more than 65 2-point field goals this year.
You'll rue the day you made this bad prediction. You'll rue it. He's added a little bit more to his game off the dribble. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for, Jay. We're talking about the Celtics. It's a Celtics podcast.
I know. I just don't see that he's like chopping guys. I don't see him really getting to the rim very often. Has he made a couple of 2s? Yeah, sure.
You know who was getting to the rim nicely?
Enormous evolution.
Sorry, Jay. You know who was getting to the rim a lot on Sunday night? Jordan Walsh. Had some, I don't know where this kind of came from, like from a finishing standpoint, I feel like was, clearly not there for him sailing, but everyone talks about the 3. He had some nice finishes, not just Sunday night, but throughout this preseason right now. And like just driving those closeout. I mean,
the lefty, like finger roll off the glass. Yeah, that was tough.
The one in the first half where he kind of like hesitated, got a guy on his back and then went up with it. It was just like, where is this Jordan Walsh? Like I watched those summer league games. He was not like this. And like, I don't know what's more real. Is it the go into the basket, getting to the rim? Is it the 3-point shooting? Is he emerged as like, I think we've fairly established what the top 9 guys in the rotation is. And I guess this is what the preseason is for, but is he the 10th guy now? Is he the next guy off the bench to get minutes? Has he earned that through his play in the preseason, B-Rob?
Yes. Just assuming Lonnie Walker's not on this team, doesn't make this
we'll
team.
Get to Lonnie. We'll get to that.
Lonnie. But yeah, like this is a no, I talking to people behind the scenes, like going into camp, like people are like, oh, the competition is going to be like, it's going to be Baylir, Shireman versus like James Springer. That was the kind of expectation for that spot. And lo and behold, Jordan Walsh comes out of the woodwork here and clearly had a good start to camp with the fact he got the playing time out of the gate in the Abu Dhabi games and now has sustained it for 4 preseason games now, to the point where, he's getting those looks and he's bringing consistently what I think Joe wants from a rebounding standpoint, from a defensive standpoint. And now, I don't know, like the offense, Jay, is like found money with him at this point, because if he was doing enough of the other stuff, that'd be fine. Like, you can get away with that. But now he's, I think, just maturing a lot faster than we expected him to at this point. We'll see if it translates, but that's a very big deal for this team if he can start doing some of this stuff when he is called upon.
And who knows if the shot will stick, but to me, everything else is promising. The offensive rebounding, they've put a huge emphasis for him on crashing the glass, and he keeps grabbing big ones and then making stuff happen afterward. He had a big one against Toronto and then kicked it out for a 3. He's making smart decisions. He's being a complementary piece. His passing, which I think is probably an underrated skill of his. He's able to find guys in transition. He's able to handle the ball in transition. And so I've been impressed by Jordan Walsh, and especially coming off the summer league, which was sort of a disaster. Like, he looked in summer league the way you absolutely do not want a second-year pro to look, which is timid, unsure of himself. Just, you're supposed to dominate when you come back for a second year of summer league, and he was so far from dominating that it was easy to question whether he even had a chance to fight for rotation minutes. And now here we are, and I would probably put him as the leader right now to take over the O'Shea Brissett role. I don't know if, like, I don't have all the information. I haven't seen all the practices. I don't know where the Celtics exactly where they are on that, and it'll probably be a little fluid, I'm sure, during the season. But yeah, he's been really good, and he's been consistent too. Like, even on nights the shot's missing, he's helped out. When the shot goes in, he's helped out a lot. So salute to Jordan Walsh. He's come a long way over a few months since summer league ended.
I know if it's just based on games alone, I don't think it's going to be Baylir Shireman, because that guy can't make a shot. And it's almost comical at this point.
No, it is comical. Some of those shots
missed bad.
Not even
missed badly.
The 3 he had from the corner, where he tried to do like the Pat Connaughton, like catch it and don't dip at all, just keep it high and let it fly. It went like 5 feet past the rim. Did not even come close. Not even remotely close. And Shireman needs to shoot well, right? Like Jordan Walsh, he's out there to defend. He's out there to rebound. He's out there to help you in other ways. Shireman is not going to make the same impact defensively that Jordan Walsh is. And so he has to be knocked down, and he's been so far from it so far. Maybe it's just young guy getting his legs right, young guy, getting ready, getting used to the speed of the game. It's funny, if you look at his college stats, his after he transferred from, was it South Dakota State to Creighton, his first year at Creighton, the 3-point numbers were like pretty wobbly. And then second year is when he put it into high gear, became just a knockdown guy. So maybe that's it. He just needs a little time to adjust. And once he gets used to it, they'll start going down like he's used to. But man, it's been like beyond ugly so far.
Yeah, we'll see in Maine. It looks like, as far as opportunity goes. Because like coming off of, because the shot didn't really, he did other stuff well in summer league, but like the shot really wasn't there in summer league either. And that is certainly when that's what he was drafted for, first and foremost. And so that has to come around at some point. And for now, it's not that big of a deal because Jordan Walsh is ready for theirs. But, like I said, like if he gets a year to get comfortable in Maine, or just, even a half season, and just, I'm sure he's going to get a chance here or there over the course of the season, just naturally, Packard. But like by and large right now, that's, if you're going to look at, underwhelming preseason performances across this team, that's probably, top of the list right now.
Yeah. And Shireman, he may be 4 years older than Jordan Walsh, But Walsh does have a year of just like playing in the NBA, and I feel like that's like a huge adjustment. Is just adjusting to the speed of the NBA, the size of the guys, the strength of the guys, the athleticism, and so feels like it's Walsh's position right now to kind of be that 10th guy, maybe that O'Shea Brissett role in the rotation. Basketball is back in the TD Garden, folks, and it is a perfect opportunity to get tickets to see the Celtics go for Banner 19. I know I'm going to miss being in that building, and so do it for me. Go to TD Garden or go to a whole sort of events going around in the Boston area or wherever you're listening to a podcast. The best way to do that is through the Game Time app. Game Time app is the best way to get tickets on the interwebs. You can get it for sports, concerts, comedy, theater. It's got all-in pricing and shows you the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. You can get seat views with panoramic views from where your seat will be in the app before you buy. There's a lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you up to 110% of the difference, and your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app and create an account and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Now, the man that everyone is clamoring for, and it's always funny how, like, maybe it's just because a guy can get the biscuit in the basket, as Drew Carter said on the broadcast. But like Celtics Reddit or like Celtics Twitter, Celtics fans in general.
I thought you were going to talk about Skapintsev for a second.
I can't say his last name, so I was going to try to avoid it. But no, the guy everyone is clamoring for, and they're like, he must make this team. They must sign him, is Lonnie Walker IV. And to give Lonnie Walker IV some credit, he got the biscuit in the basket, scored 20 points against the Raptors. I think he was 3 of 6 from three, maybe knocked down 4 threes.
4 for 9, I believe.
4 for 9, so maybe a little bit worse percentage, but still, that's a damn near 40, upwards of 40% there. Jay, the question is he worth paying the veteran minimum, which is $2.5 million, and then I think the tax, because they're so far in the tax, it's 2.5 times that. So it's basically like, is Lonnie Walker worth the $7-8 million the Celtics would have to spend if they want to bring him in for that last roster spot?
And then there's another question now, which is if they determine that he's not worth that and they want him to go to Maine, is another team going to sign him based off, number one, past production, and number two, the way he's looked with extended run over these 2 preseason games. So I think it's becoming more complicated. The first 2 games of preseason, he looked like just not at all in the Celtics plans. After the 3rd preseason game, when he played a lot of minutes, he said it was the first time getting any reps at all with Peyton Pritchard and the usual Celtics bench. He's been playing with the G League guys basically at practice. So, but those 2 games, he was really good. And I thought when he played with the bench, when the Celtics starters played, that was the part that stood out to me, because he's, he can take tough shots. He will make tough shots sometimes. He can erupt and score, but can he fit into the offense? Can he be more efficient than he has been in the past? Can he just really go from a guy who can score in double digits, as he has in 3 of his 6 NBA seasons, to a guy who is out there to help your team? And I thought it was really promising that first night. And then the second night he came back, thought he was good for the most part again. There were a couple moments that stood out to me. And one of them was he got Jakob Poeltl on a switch. And Poeltl was out on the perimeter. And Lonnie Walker, instead of keeping the advantage, trying to attack him, making a play for somebody else, or maybe getting to the cup himself, he shot like this awful step back 3 over the top of Pirtle, and Joe was so mad on the sideline, like absolutely fuming on the sideline. And like that's the concern about Lonnie Walker. That's what they're trying to teach him out of doing, is like those moments of settling and those moments of looking for his own offense when he should try to do something else. And it was funny because he got similar situations a couple of other times and attacked and did it differently. And like you can tell he's really trying to fit into the Celtics system, do what they want. And from the sound of it, from what he's saying, at least, like this whole experience has changed him and kind of forced him to, I don't want to say rededicate himself to basketball, but just push his dedication to another level, because he is fighting for a roster spot. He is fighting right now for a chance after, you know, being a first round pick and a guy with the Lakers, signed a mid-level deal with them. It's just kind of been like slowly, gradually falling lower and lower on the NBA totem pole. And so he's trying to reestablish himself. And so far, I think he's done a good job of just being humble and just trying to do whatever the Celtics need from him.
Yeah, if you're Brad Stevens in the front office the last 2 nights, you're like, no, Lonnie, don't play this well. Like, this is too, we keep this on ice for a couple more weeks so the rest of the league doesn't see this and pluck you away. Because it is, in the perfect world, it's like, all right, Lonnie gets in the system, he goes up to Maine, he plays well up there. Maybe at the trade deadline, we make some moves, we open up a roster spot for him. And I honestly think, guys, like this could potentially be, you know, forget about this year, but like down the line, they're going to obviously be down rotation bodies just due to the finances. And Lonnie Walker is the ideal guy to bring in there and on the minimum or something like that a year or two down the line and get him in the system. And if you have him already integrated and then he can become a contributor, like that's great. But to be able to get to that point is a whole nother situation. If obviously he's not going to wait around for a year if another NBA team comes calling with an opportunity, which I think probably some should based on how he's looked in these last couple of games, if he's kind of changed his game a bit as Jay laid out there. So that is going to be, I think, a fascinating subplot of cuts in the next week or two, is like how this plays out around the league and whether another team comes calling. Or I don't know, Packard, would you trade away? Would you try to trade away Jaden Springer to open up a spot for Lonnie Walker now?
I would personally, because I just haven't seen a lot from Jaden Springer. I feel like Jaden Springer might be a couple years away from being a couple years away at this point. I think it's a very interesting question, especially in the context of the Celtics are actively selling the team, seemingly because Irv Grousbeck didn't like how much money they were paying. And so it's this extra $8 million. Yes, they're like billionaires, but it's like it's just added money in tax. Are they willing to kind of spend that? I think it's interesting to bring up the like long-term consequences. Like, what if you offer him a long-term contract and you can lock Lonnie Walker in on a minimum deal for the next couple of years? I think it's going to be very interesting to see how they play this, because in terms of talent, it feels like he just in terms of shooting alone is a guy you want on your rotation. You want someone who can just knock down threes and can kind of give you a bit of playmaking, a bit of scoring. Like, I'm just thinking of like what they had and what roles they had after O'Shea Brissett last year. They didn't really have, like, Spee came in and just chucked, and he was an offensive option. Then you kind of had like energy guys in Banton and Stevens, but you didn't have really anyone else who could come in and score the basketball as easily as Walker can. So just like from a pure talent perspective, it feels like obviously you want him on the roster, but I can also understand, especially when you already are worried about how much money you're spending, paying, I guess, would it be $8 million to bring him in? When you do bring him in, he's still going to be at best, the 11th man? Like, he's still behind Peyton Pritchard. He's the fourth guard on the team. And so is it worth it to pay him to not get that many minutes?
I have a question here. If you weren't ever going to have Lonnie Walker on your roster, and if there was no chance he'd ever make the team, why would you even bother bringing him in? And that's where
bring in someone.
That's where I do wonder. You know,
Brad likes him.
it's got to be hard for him to make the team just because of the financial realities that you laid out. But also, if he's doing everything right and he's coming to work every day and he's improving and he's committing to everything the coaching staff has asked him to do, there's a lot of talent there. And I think the league sort of soured on him because it's like, sure, you get numbers for yourself, but how much are you really helping everyone else? How much are you really helping the team? But if the Celtics can coach him out of that, like I just feel like there's a real player inside of him to mine. And if you were if there was no chance, why'd you bring him in? If there was a chance, then I think the way he's approached this and the way that he's played when he's been given opportunities, he's got to be opening their eyes and maybe convincing them that it would be worth it to keep him around and just see what happens.
Yeah, that's the biggest part. Like he is forcing the issue right now. Like with obviously the games against Denver, it's end of the bench. Like he obviously didn't even play well in those spots. But now when you see the mix and how he meshed well with Pritchard and Hauser, it's like, okay, like this, you see the kind of the vision there. And it's, I think in a perfect world, if there was no financial implications, like he'd be an easy choice. Of course you carry him as a 15th guy, but now it's like, you have to weigh not just the flexibility of like, do you want that roster spot open? Or if like, what if we want to keep Jaden Springer for a trade down the line? Like, because they have very limited flexibility into what they can do, if any type of trades this year. But if Lonnie just plays good enough and it's like, hey, this is a proven NBA player who obviously was able to contribute in the playoffs a couple years ago on a Lakers team that went to the conference finals, like that's a pretty good guy to have. And if it's losing him outright versus like making, the money work for the start of the season, it's like that's a tough choice. And so it's I think it's going to come down, sadly, probably going to come down to finance for that stuff. But there's, like you said, Jay, there's no doubt that like they liked him a lot. I think what the rumor was last year, they looked at him at the trade deadline too. So like, this is clearly not something that they just brought in for no reason. They obviously see something in him here.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. Like if you make the signing and hoping that he makes the roster, like you wouldn't sign a bad player just to like.
The counterpoint to that is maybe you sign him hoping he ends up in Maine and you get him really cheap and have him in your organization. And then maybe after that, then you're able to
like sign him like Nemi did at the end of the year. Like you have him on the roster spot. And then like Packard said, maybe you add the option for next season and then that becomes a nice little chip for you down the line. But is he too good for that? Like when he says, oh, like Brad talked to me about going to Maine, like he's not going to make the roster and then go play for the Maine Celtics. Like that was the implication there is being like, all right, we might cut you and hope you go play in Maine for us. And then you trust us enough to know that we're going to give you a chance on the other side, which I think Brad Stevens has showed. Like he can at least point to the track record of guys like, hey, look at the guys who's come up through this system and had gotten their contracts, like Sam Hauser, for instance. Like if you do what we want you to do and develop, like we'll take care of you. And Walker could look around the league right now and where his standing is and be like, all right, this might be my best bet to latch onto this organization and wait my turn for a bigger role.
That being said, other teams not in the tax just have to pay him the $2.5 million he's owed for a veteran minimum. And like, it's much easier. I can imagine Lonnie Walker being like, I would like the guaranteed contract and to be on an NBA team rather than the promise of perhaps making the team in the future and having to take a bunch of trips up to Portland, Maine.
Totally.
No matter how pretty Portland, Maine is in the fall. I mean, he could just do it for the foliage alone, but we'll see. Fellas, you were in the building. Any other basketball observations before we get to the general nonsense portion of the show?
Jaden Springer started preseason and it was like, ooh, Jaden Springer's got a chance to play minutes. Jaden Springer ended preseason and it's now like, yeah, I don't know.
Joe got pretty mad at him. He yanked him in that second quarter on Sunday night.
Was he screaming at him to take a charge that he didn't take?
I think it was after a turnover. But yeah, I don't think he definitely not have a good sequence there.
And he played less minutes than a lot of guys.
He got a DMP on Saturday
against his old team. You feel
Yeah.
you at least give him like a chance to F you to Daryl Morey, but they didn't even do that.
Yeah, not his stock is not trending the right direction right now. To heading into the regular season.
Yeah. And then Jordan Walsh's stock and Lonnie Walker's stock
Yes.
rose at the same time. So not great for Jaden Springer, I don't think.
All right, hearing no other, really astute basketball observations.
Was that really astute?
No, I was being generous.
Super astute.
I was trying to, build up the confidence of the entire team in terms of their takes. Normally I wanted to try out a segment called Stuff Joe Mazzulla Says, but he was not that interesting over the 2 games. And so we're going to do Stuff Joe Mazzulla Does. Jordan Walsh revealed that last season he got hazed by the head coach. The head coach hazed him and made him sing Boys to Men in front of the other teams.
And dance.
And sing and dance. And Boys to Men's pretty slow, passionate R&B. It feels like the most humiliating song, like kind of band or group choice you could make a young guy sing. And I'm sure Jordan, he's 20 years old. I'm sure he has no idea who Boys to Men is.
It felt like when he said Boys to Men to us that he wasn't sure whether anyone would
get the reference.
And we were all like, ooh, Boys to Men.
Yeah, that's our jam. Well, so what's the question now? Like, what's your guys' Boys to Men? What would be your option there if you had to sing it to the team? What are you gonna go? What do you think, Jordan Walsh? Do you think they were told him what he had to sing, or do you think he got to catalog?
I don't have a deep Boys to Men bag. I know song Motown Philly.
End of the
End of the road. Yep, that's a good guess.
If he's had to sing at the end of the road, just a solo, and then dance to that feels like torture. I can't believe Joe Mazzulla is in charge of this. This seems outrageous.
See, I feel like that's far easier to dance to than like something fast, because you just have to kind of sway your body a little bit. You don't have to. You don't have to go crazy.
That's a fair point, Jay.
But the bigger story here is Joe Mazzulla is hazing.
Normally the veterans are in charge of that stuff. Like that's not the head coach's responsibility.
We should have known that Joe Mazzulla hazes rookies. He probably hazes veterans as well. I doubt that he only hazes rookies. He's kind of, I would guess, he's one of the biggest bullies among coaches.
I would say so.
And I don't mean that like problematically or anything like that. I just think he wants to test you mentally. He wants to force you to do uncomfortable things. And sometimes that means dancing to Boys to Men in front of all your teammates.
Also, Jordan Walsh said that he becomes he loses his rookie status next week.
Yeah, I don't agree with
which
that.
I don't get. That doesn't
that's a tough go.
As soon as Baylir Shireman joins the team, Jordan, as soon as the NBA year ticks over July 1st, Jordan Walsh should not be a rookie. I think he should challenge that. That ruling is ridiculous.
They must enjoy his just clown him as a rookie for
one more song for Jordan Walsh.
Just because, Baylir, we'll have to get more into, because I guess Jordan Walsh is a rookie, he's not only a rookie, he's a young dude.
He's 20 years old.
He's 20 years old. But fully embraced it. But you can tell, I imagine he is eagerly awaiting Tuesday night, opening ring night, that he gets to pass that mantle on to Baylir. But that is a tough draw for him, no doubt.
All right, new segment number 2. B-Rob, this is you're going to have to be the arbiter of justice here, because there's an ongoing battle that goes on in TD Garden. And who knows how many times it's going to pop up during the season, but I think it might happen a lot. And it's Jay King versus the Wave. And we got some of that on Saturday night. We got a wave. And sometimes I think the Wave wins. And I think Jay is humiliated and he gets put on the Jumbotron and he looks like an idiot. Sometimes the Wave is done in an inopportune moment and Jay fires off a pretty humorous tweet. And I think Jay King wins. And so we got our first Jay King versus the Wave on Saturday night. B-Rob, and you were the arbiter of this. Don't let me influence you at all. You were in the building. You were going to keep tally of who wins the wave for the entire season. Who won on Saturday night, Jay King or the wave? I will present one piece of evidence in just a neutral piece of evidence. Jason Tatum did join in on the wave on Saturday night.
So did Al Horford.
So did Al Horford. Jay King turning over exculpatory evidence against him in this regard. So based on this evidence, who won, Jay King or the wave?
I mean, this is an easy wave night.
Wave one.
This
wave,
is if
waves
there's
up,
if there's
nothing.
if this
Waves
is in
up,
any
nothing.
if there is any time for a wave in an NBA arena, it is up 50 in the preseason in the fourth quarter. I don't know if Jay will ever concede to the wave at any point.
Nor should he.
That's part of it would be very disappointing. He'd let a lot of people down if he did. But this is one where you just tip your cap to the wave and take the L, I think.
I should have allowed Jay to make a statement in his defense before your official ruling. But Jay,
I have to read you guys some of the responses. I got on Twitter.
Do we have to hire security for Jay for the rest of the season?
The real segment. Take an edible and relax, Jay. Let fans be fans. It's embarrassing. This hurts your feelings. If this is supposed to be a joke, many people missed it.
Yes, they did.
N-word, what the absolute fuck are you talking about?
It's aggressive.
Well, can you read your tweet just for the people who didn't see it?
Yeah, let's get everyone what everyone's reacting to here.
Simply humiliating, a preseason wave. The city of Boston couldn't make it through one meaningless game without embarrassing itself. Imagine you have a choice to sit down rationally and watch Lonnie Walker versus Jared McCain, and instead you decide to throw your hands into the air like an idiot just because the person next to you did it. Sad sheep, so many sad sheep.
Well,
are you calling Jason Tatum an idiot now?
If it wasn't for the participation of the players, I thought that was a pretty good Jay anti-wave tweet, especially the Lonnie Walker, Jared McCann line. And so a strong first competition between Jay versus the wave.
And the Garden followed up on Sunday night. No wave. Listen to wave. Jay got the message out for Sunday night.
No wave.
No wave. So
wave.
I think any night. I think we have to score any no wave night is a win for Jay. I think. In the
no, I don't think that's a game. I don't think that's a game's played. I don't think it's like how a walk doesn't count as an at bat in baseball. Like it's not an official statistic if there's no wave.
But it's become a movement. Like the wave for most of the time I've covered the Celtics was never something people did at Celtics games. Like hardly ever did you see a wave at TD Garden. But last year it just kind of took over.
And they won a championship. Coincidence?
Yes.
Who's
I would argue they probably would have gone undefeated in the playoffs without it. Porzingis would have stayed healthy. There's a lot of stuff that goes wrong.
Could use a couple more sweeps in there. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I always appreciate Jay's zealous anti-wave advocacy, but he is down 1-0. Although, should we count this because it was a preseason game? I'm going to count it against you because I just made up all the rules of this game, and I'd like to see you take an L.
Someone said, "Simmer down, nerd." You sound fun, Jay. Maybe touch grass. Shut up. Death, taxes, and Jay King being an asshat. 3 guarantees of life. You're the one embarrassing yourself in public. Sit this one out, Jay. Admit it. You hate any bets on how long it will be before this chump is dropped by the Athletic?
Wow.
Jay. Who hates sports. Jesus Christ, bro, get a life. Stop crying so damn much. It's pathetic. You were absolute garbage on the Rain and Jays podcast.
Oh, wow.
Well, this has to be all good for our listenership.
Cry to the guy comes to Twitter to open up and cry to the public. Absolutely pathetic. If you call yourself an influencer, you should not be that soft. I do not call myself an influencer. I was going to hang asshole. Congrats on the extra beer, man. I'm glad. But wild times in my mentions after that one. And that's like only a portion of the hate. It was just constant hate for a day.
Well, I'm excited for that constant hate to return, and I feel like we've struck gold with the segment here. So good stuff. I have 2 more segment ideas, but I think one I'm going to save. It's called the pregame meal report, and it's where I ask you guys what they had for dinner at TD Garden. But because that's like the biggest topic of conversation among Celtics media before every single home game.
Nights. It was
oh wow,
chicken fingers and buffalo chicken fingers and pizza.
See, that's tough. Well, because I'm going to save this because obviously that's not a priest. That's like not a real meal from them. But I'm also just
they had waffle fries too.
Ooh. I'm going to start texting Adam Himmelsbach because he's the biggest media dining connoisseur and try to get him to do a rating. And so maybe we'll do that on the Poddable post game. But the final segment, I don't know if you guys saw, there's a new banner up in the Auerbach Center. Did you guys see this banner?
Yes, I did.
And it's 6 things that Joe Mazzulla wants this team to be. Do you guys remember what the 6 things are?
Not just that Joe Mazzulla wants the team to be, that the team together decided that they want to be last year. That when they were deciding on a culture.
Well, I want you guys, and maybe we'll do it collectively. Go ahead.
Toughness, mindset, what else is there?
Well, here's how we'll do it. We're going to do a blind ranking. So there's 6 of them. We'll start off with because you mentioned toughness and mindset. Where would you rank those 2 in terms of the 6 most important qualities a basketball team needs to have?
I think the Celtics ranked.
No, I'm talking about what you think. What do you guys think? We got 6 of them. Where do toughness and mindset rank?
Aren't they kind of the same thing?
Well, then they wouldn't have put both of them on the banner.
I'm going mindset. Yeah, I'm going mindset 2.
I would agree with you there. Mindset's 2.
Got to be high. I almost went 1, but I think that's a little too aggressive.
I'm going mindset 1.
Mindset does kind of allow for everything else. Mindset is the building block for everything. So I could be convinced mindset's 1. All right, I think toughness, I'm going to put around 4.
3.
Toughness seems pretty important. We'll go 3.
All right, the consensus is 3 there. So we got mindset 1, toughness 3. Where are you guys ranking humility?
Low.
6? 6 for humility?
Yeah, 5 or 6 for me. We need to save. I don't know what else. I don't remember what else is on there.
I'm glad you guys don't remember the full list. It makes this better.
So I'm guessing we have a couple that we need to get high up there. Yeah.
I'll split the difference and say we're putting humility in at 5. So we got 1 mindset, 3 toughness, 5 humility, togetherness. Where are we ranking togetherness?
That's 2. Mindset and togetherness go a long way.
2.
All right, 2. I'll agree. Mindset, together, toughness. We got a blank 4th spot, then humility, then a blank 6th spot. Passion. Where are we putting passion?
We'll go 4 with passion.
Yeah, we'll probably regret it when we hear what the next thing is, but I think passion's you can't have passion be last.
And for your last, the least important thing for the Celtics to do this season, coming in at the number 6, compete. Compete is coming in at number 6 in your guys' blind rankings.
It's okay. If you're passionate, you're already competing.
If you're passionate with a good mindset and together, and I think we're going to compete too.
The one thing I would have had humility be.
Yeah, humility should have been 6.
Humility should have been 6, but I agree. Mindset.
That's what a cocky person says.
Jay, you're the cockiest person I know.
That's not true.
Well, tell me who is cockier that I know.
That's just not true. I'm the greatest person you know.
Oh, well played. Well played. If you disagreed with the blind rankings, hit us up in the comments. If you enjoyed this and you're just watching this on CLNS and you want more content from us, go to patreon.com/stillpoddable. We are there every single day, Monday through Friday. We got different tiers. You can join us for 2 days. You can join us for the rest of the week. But had a great time last season building a little Celtics community, and we're going to be ever growing this season. We got chat that is popping off during most games. And so if you want to join that and have a group of passionate Celtics fans to talk about, patreon.com/stillpoddable. We got a bunch of the other content out there. Jay King himself is answering your questions on J-Mail. Well, he answers a question almost every day. Call up the number 617-684-5965. Jay will answer your question there on Patreon. We got behind-the-scenes stuff coming. These guys are following the team, and we'll give you all sorts of goodies and information from behind the scenes. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll be back tomorrow because we're here every day with more Still Poddable.
Still Poddable, Still Poddable. The Boston Still Poddable, Still Poddable.
Oh, yeah.
Go down from eating and drinking and all that wild stuff.